With me today is Jahnavi Mange, co-founder of From Soil to Soul. Jahnavi is a transformational catalyst with a passion to create leadership and compassion for climate solutions and social innovation. Jahnavi, welcome to Say Hi to the Future.
Thank you so much, Ken. So great to be here.
So we have some mutual connections. You went to the Savannah College of Art and Design. You went for industrial design, and I think it was one of your majors. And my business partner Tom Gaddis was a chair down there, and I think Owen Foster, who's is a big part of our community, was there. So tell me about SCAD to start.
Well, SCAD was a very transformative part of my journey. So if I go a little back, I did my bachelor's in Mumbai in electronics engineering, and I so wanted to come to learn robotics in United States until 2014. And then I went through a very acute ankle joint fracture during my final quarter of engineering, and that's when I realized through my lived experience that there's something beyond robotics which I want to address. There's something about inclusivity, which or accessibility, which was very missing in my experience in my daily life, even in the metropolitan city like Mumbai. And that kept me thinking, like, what is beyond robotics that I can think about? And that's when I got to know about industrial design, and I prepared myself for that in terms of creating a portfolio around it, understanding which are the universities that provide that courses. And that's when I came across SCAD. And what really intrigued me about SCAD was the diverse curriculum that they used to offer. So it's not just about industrial design, but the interconnectedness of graphic design, service design, storytelling, innovation in general, sustainability, and all of those different majors, and people coming in, like student coming in from all over the world to study at that space. And I was like, yeah, that's the best place for me to go and explore and see a new version of myself. And that's what really happened. And the start of 2016 January, I started my master's at SCAD and industrial product design. And within 6 months of that, I was in the forest of Tuscumbia, Alabama, where Owen Foster hosted us for the Shift Design Camp, a very innovative way of getting students in the design field from all over the United States and having experts from the industry guide us through that 7 days, but exploring in nature. So we are, away from all the gadgets and learning to have disruptive ways of design thinking, connecting ourselves with nature, connecting ourselves and building those relationships with other people, and building more of the listening capacity, right? So that's where in the summer of 2016, I had my first experience with biomimicry design sprint, where we were learning to not just connect with nature, but learn from nature's principles and how do we apply that in the work that we do. And that kind of ignited me that, yes, this is the path I want to take forward. Like, I started learning about what systems thinking is. So that time, Scott Boylston, who is now my mentor and a very dear friend as well, he was the professor that time at SCAD, and he's still, heading the sustainability department at SCAD, and he was doing the biomimicry design sprint for us. So then I started taking office hours with him, understanding, okay, how do I connect my engineering with product design, and why sustainability has to be thought from that perspective, right? So what is systems thinking? How do we go beyond? Because the culture that I came from in Mumbai, like reuse, recycle, all of those are our day-to-day activities. We don't think it like, out of the box for that. Like, that's our way of being. But if you see from a broader perspective, from a holistic lens of what's happening in the world, and there is way beyond complexity than just the small daily measures. So that kind of intrigued me, and I realized, okay, this is my way of life. And since then, my journey in sustainability has been expanding. Like, after graduating from SCAD, I worked with the city of Savannah for nearly 2 years as well. And the beauty of SCAD was, like, through all the courses we took, they connected us with the local community in Savannah. It's very easy, when you are, how do I say, when you are coming from outside United States, and when you are studying in a university campus, it's very easy to get intertwined only within the campus life itself and not actually connect with the local community in that area. But the courses that SCAD did, all the research projects that we did, or the design projects we did, many of them were in collaboration with the local nonprofit. The research projects, they made us go outside and build those relationships with the local community to understand, the space that you are in,
Right.
to be a part of that community itself, rather than feeling as an outsider. How do you think about belonging? So that was something which was a big learning journey at SCAD, and it continued way after that as well.
Well, it seems like it really did continue, because when I look at what you're doing now, and you can tell us a bit, about soil to soul, piece by piece, let's unpack a little bit, because I love like the sentences you wrote about a journey to food sovereignty. So, I mean, just let's start with it. Just says, imagine a world where every community has the power to grow its own food, where children know the story of the food they eat and where their food comes from. So let's talk to soil to soul. It sounds like it comes right out of that holistic community you were introduced to in Savannah.
Sure. So from Soil to Soul is our startup. We are three co-founders. I'm based in Sunnyvale, California. Margaret To, she's based in LA. And Ankur Shah, he's based in Huntsville, Alabama. We three met together in 2023 when we thought of starting From Soil to Soul. But going back and my personal journey that I like to share, like why Soil to Soul, From Soil to Soul is so important for me, is it's a very personal journey for me, connecting me to my dear father. He is not right now with me in this life, but growing up, like both my forefathers, from both sides of the family, like from mom and dad sides, were farmers. So I grew up in that setup. My parents are general physicians in Mumbai, but my dad was an anchor to, connecting me to nature at the very early stage. Like even in the small balcony space of Mumbai, we used to grow multiple different plants, right? For example, couple of herbs or flowering plants, and used to have plants like aloe vera, some medicinal plants at house. Sometimes we used to grow lemons and lemongrass, and so he kind of taught me how to create that ecosystem around. So we'll welcome a lot of pollinating. Bees and birds throughout the year, like every season. How do you incorporate that seasonal food and the relationship with cooking and spices, like very very much the love of spices in India. But also when my dad used to travel a lot for his medical practices, for volunteering his time in the outskirts of Mumbai, he used to connect with the villagers over there, learn like the different food practices, and then used to bring that home. And we used to experience that as well, like a simple thing
Mm-hmm.
like uh, you know um, the sweet peas as you take. So most of the times you open the cover and use the peas inside, but in one of the village in Maharashtra, they, after using the peas, they also make a curry out of the cover itself. So food waste is next to nothing. So dad used to
Okay.
learn that, bring that home as well, and we used to enjoy cooking for the community around, and have that thing going into our culture. So when I came to Savannah as well, like food was very near to me. Like who doesn't love food? I would say, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, I used to participate in a lot of forestation projects with the local nonprofits in Savannah. Also at SCAD, as I said, I got a chance to interact with students from all over the world. Some are very dear friends of mine right now, and when we talk about different cultures, the first thing is about sharing food, the potlucks that we do, right? So it kind of continued, and in 2023, when I got married and moved to California, I used to volunteer with climate designers. as which is another a non-profit, and it's like a global organization which focuses on how every designer can work on climate solutions.
Right.
And we were in the New Cuyama Valley in the Santa Barbara region, which is in between Northern and Southern California. And we were gambling over there and understanding a disruptive way of design thinking, where our topic was the water issues which the local farmers were facing in the valley. And in those 8 days, I kind of realized very firsthand what's the complexity that the farmers are facing right now. Like, they knew about organic farming methods and they used to practice organic farming, but at the same time, there were industrial agriculture going on a large scale. Like, the industry is owning a big chunk of land in the valley, and they were able to use water, manipulating the water systems of the policy which was there. And but the local farmers were the one that were facing it right on, right? They were not even able to have enough water to continue the organic farming practices. Even the
Mhm.
only high school in the valley was being sued but for using the water. And that was a big alarming question, like, what is really happening? Like, how much often do we question where our food is coming from? We get so busy in our lives, we go to the supermarkets, even sometimes from the farmers market we buy things, or when we eat outside in the restaurant, how often do we really ask this question, like,
Right.
where the food on my table is coming from? How often do we express that gratitude or extend our consideration to the entire ecosystem around that? And knowing
And
that food is the vital.
right.
So that's kind of got this inspiration that yes, we need to do something around it. And Margaret was with me during
Mhm.
that the Project Blue Sky in the Kuyama Valley. She was there during the entire course with me, filming our experience, and we continued talking after that quite a lot. And it was also a shared dream which I had with my father. So in 2020, my dad's journey in this life ended, but we had been thinking a lot about, like, the farmland which my grandfather used to own in our native land in Gujarat. Dad always wanted to go back and do more around education in terms of regenerative farming practices and youth empowerment around it. And when I was in the Kuyama Valley, it kind of struck me that, yeah, this is the right time to do something about it and to take it
Okay.
forward. And that is my
Good.
personal reason.
And your passion comes through, so that's what makes the story. But as I listen to it,
Mhm.
I understand it on a personal level, on a passionate level.
Mhm.
Um, how do you actually get it to influence the everyday consumer? Is that who you're going after? Because like
Sure.
our lives are so jammed with everything, and our commute times are insane, as you would know, living in California. I absolutely love what you're saying. I just don't know how you as an organization make it relevant to me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, if I ask you this question, right, like, in our current times, with the exceeding amount of climate change happening and the, natural disasters taking place all over the world, what's the certainty that you have, like, you are going to have that healthy food on your table tomorrow? Like, if you do not even know where the food is coming from, if we as a community are not resilient enough to know to
Right.
survive, to be able to grow our own food in, and the very first thing is to understand, like, what is the ancestral ways, what is the indigenous wisdom, how to tend the land, how to understand
Mhm.
and create that relationship with the land, the soil, like, the people, the culture. Because when we talk about food, it's not just the food that we eat. It's so much about the people, the culture, the soil system, the land system, water system, energy system. It's so interconnected
Mhm.
with everything around it. So as you see right now, like, in one of the United Nations report is also mentioned, 1 in 10 people face the hunger issues today in the world,
Okay.
which is huge. Like,
Right.
Most of the food deserts, most of food insecurity is happening due to climate change and due to wars, due to conflict around the
Hmm.
world. So how do we address that? Where do we start? Somewhere we need to start, right? When you see about the health issues, the growing obesity rate, the growing, diabetes rate, and other like cancer and so many other health issues, where is it stemming from? So one is definitely about the stressful life, as you mentioned. We have very less time in our hands to focus on something which is very vital to our own living. We have created such a lifestyle around us, and the second thing is about what are we consuming. So when you read about the ingredients in the packed food, many of them are cancerous. Right now, such a lot of research is coming out. Like now the regulations are starting to coming out. But how do you understand the basic of what is good for your own health, your body, and what is good for your surrounding, and what is good for your community? And that's the reason from soil to soul is important at this point of time. And that's why we took the route of storytelling, because storytelling is the easiest way to reach to people, to help them understand what that systemic way and holistic way of thinking and being looks like. And also youth empowerment is another big segment
Hmm.
for us, because youth these days have such a lot of passion. They are way smarter. They have the entire knowledge, and information and data at that course, but seldom do they get the chance to work on this grassroots level initiatives. Like that level of support for them is still missing. So that's something we wanted to provide through From Soil to Soul, and also to give a pathway for people to start taking leadership in
Right.
their own life, from whatever resources you have, wherever you are. Because um, storytelling is also not new. When you look at Netflix, when you look at PBS, there are immense number of documentaries, docu-series around food, around regenerative agriculture. But what we saw missing is, whenever we see those stories or films, and after that, at that moment you're so inspired, but then later in your personal time you start asking question like, okay, this all is great, but where do I start?
Right.
What is the first step do I take? Like, whom do I
Right.
connect? What do I do? And that's the gap we are bridging through From Soil to Soul. We are making it action oriented docu series. So with each episode, with each story that we are screening, we are creating a pathway and roadmap for people to start interacting, to start taking leadership. So we do various workshops on ground. We collaborate with community partners to do more projects on ground, so that more and more people, more and more youth and change makers get chance to start participating from early on. So
So, okay, John, I think I'm starting to get a clearer picture. So, and I'm trying to, as a 30-year entrepreneur, I'm trying to understand, I guess, the financial or the go-to-market model that you're following here. And you're going to market with docu-series.
yeah, that's a first step.
So are you a not-for-profit? Are you what's your model and how you offer this to somebody like me? Because it does resonate when you say people don't understand what to do next. You're absolutely right. I spent hours looking at social action, social engagement. Some things tell me and some things engage me that way, and some things just leave me going, wow, that's terrible. I should be doing something, but it goes away because there's nothing there telling me when you stop watching, do this next.
I totally get your point of view, and thank you so much for asking that. For us right now, our business model is a hybrid. So docu-series is purely through a non-profit perspective, because through that we want to build a community. We want to reach out to people and help people participate, right, as a first step, to get them engaged, to get them start thinking about where the food is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things, like start like helping people to start observe their own surrounding, their own lifestyle, question their own choices and biases, and what to do next around that. So it's the
Right.
first step to ignite that sense of leadership among them. But then, as an organization itself, we want to create a social entrepreneurship model where we can do more collaborative projects with community partners, with different organizations who are directly and indirectly in the food space. So as I said earlier, right, like food system is so much around energy, so much around water system, like soil system. So how do we have that different kind of projects going, which shows the interconnectedness, and
Hmm.
also create that regenerative business or compassion focused business model. So that is still a work in progress for us. We are just 1.5 years into this, so we are still building
No,
that,
it's
and starting one
all
step at
good.
a time. So yeah.
No, and you know what? Everybody needs to take the first step. I was just, I guess I'm so intrigued by what you're doing. It's a matter for me of how do I start to not just internalize it, but act on it. So can you tell me, from your film, From Soil to Soul, are there any stories you can share?
Sure. So we started filming early in 2024. So it was more like the interviews of the people that we whose stories we want to show in our actual docuseries. And when
Hmm.
it was such a learning and inspiring journey for all three of us when we met those people, when we learned about their stories and how the kind of impact that they created. So there are a couple of them I can share, and then I would want people to actually go to our website and look into it and connect themselves as well. There is Talia Daston. She told about her own, personal medicinal journey, like with her lifestyle choices, the way she used to live earlier, the food intake that she used to do earlier, the medical complications that she used to face with her intestines, she used to feel that's normal. The pain is normal and everyone else faces that. It was only when she traveled for her studies, and there was a place where they grew their own food, in terms of the community gardens, in terms of having access to fresh vegetables, fresh organically grown vegetables. She felt the pain going. And when she used to talk to other folks, she realized that the pain that she felt earlier was not normal. And the kind of lifestyle choices that she then transformed into, and the kind of life she's living right now, it's totally different, so healthy. And stories like that kind of inspired us a lot to keep going. So, yeah, there are many more stories I can share.
Those are great. Thank you. So I'm speaking with Jahnavi Mange, co-founder of From Soil to Soul. Jahnavi, it's amazing how time flies. We're nearly at the end of our discussion today. So let me ask you a little bit, though, about regenerative leadership and how it contributes to building compassionate business models.
Sure. So, when you talk about regenerative leadership, you are really talking a lot about going inside out. So,
Hmm.
understanding, what really helps you as a form of uh, your own healing journey. Like, when you talk about compassion, how do you first imply that self compassion? Because unless you are working on reconnecting and rebuilding your relationship with yourself, with your community, with the mother earth and nature itself, understanding that you are an integral part of nature itself. Like, one of
Hmm.
our speakers in our docu-series, strongly is to say, Farmer Rishi, he just said outbound, like, we are nature. Forget about even being a part. We are nature. Like, I was in Tromso a couple days back, and I was talking to one of the members of the Sami community, the native community over there. And when he said, like, we live with earth, we don't live on earth, we live with earth, understanding nature itself as a living system. And when you operate from that sense and perspective, you start having compassion as a center of for all of your decision makings, whether it is for yourself, whether it's for the community, whether
Hmm.
it is any innovative idea that you bring in. So when you operate from that sense of accountability and ownership, that is the kind of leadership that you reflect from inside out, and then you build it from outside in as well. So that's what I mean when I talk about regenerative leadership. And
Nice.
also, compassionate business model. How do you understand if any company is having a compassionate business model? Look at how they are operating through a stakeholders perspective, right, rather than just the shareholders perspective. How they are connecting with the local communities around that, how their impact model is taking into consideration the effect that's going to have in the surrounding, like people, planet, and prosperity, as we say, right? So is the company focusing on a prosperity model rather than just the profit model or the bottom line? So that's something you can see around whether the company is focusing on equality and equity and diversity. So when we talk about diversity, it's not just about, okay, hiring people from different cultures or, races and things around that, but actually building that culture within the organization where it is more of shared learning, where it is more about listening, where it is more about creating that space for people uh, to have a safe space to share, a safe space to evolve together. So if a company is focusing on that kind of perspective, then it is a compassionate business model, we can say, because it's not just the kind of work you put outside, but it's the type of people that you work with. It's type of environment that you create within. It's going to reflect in everything else that you do. So it's a complex model at that this point of time, we can say, like, yes, every company needs to do profit. It's important to make money, and that's how you are going to feed everyone around you. But at the same time, how can your profitability also help everyone around you thrive? It's not just you as a company, but it's the entire community together. So
Right.
that's something we really want in today's time and the near future. If, as the global community, we want to be more resilient and survive with the climate changes. And yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We've been speaking with Jahnavi Mange, co-founder from Soil to Soul. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for joining us on Say Hi to the Future.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ken. And thank you so much, Sonia, for reaching out and being so flexible with my schedules around. And yeah, I would love to continue our conversations as well, like, outside the podcast as well. I would love to stay in touch and see what different avenues can we connect with. So yeah, thank you so much.